Welcome back to the channel. Folks, if you thought politics couldn't get any more bizarre, think again, because Joe Biden just made an appearance on The View. And let's just say the cringe factor was off the charts. We're talking full-on confusion, rambling like your uncle at Thanksgiving after 3 glasses of box wine, and a whole lot of finger-pointing. Now, before we dive into the madness, smash that like button and subscribe for more truth bombs and unfiltered commentary. You're not going to want to miss this one. Let's kick things off with Biden tossing red meat to The View's Trump-deranged audience. He decided to bring Kamala Harris's political downfall back into the spotlight and blame it on, you guessed it, racism and sexism. Yep, he went there. When asked why Kamala didn't get further in her political career, Biden awkwardly stumbled through a word salad. He basically said she was the most qualified person to be president. But America just couldn't handle a woman, let alone a woman of color, in charge. According to Joe, it had nothing to do with her track record, popularity, or that unforgettable laugh. Nope, it was pure discrimination. He babbled something along the lines of, she's this, she's that. They went the sexist route. They undercut her leadership because she's a woman of mixed race. Honestly, it sounded like he was reading a Tumblr post from 2013 while trying to remember where he left his ice cream. And of course, this kind of narrative is straight out of the Democratic playbook. Every loss? Blame bigotry. Every setback? Blame the system. It couldn't possibly be that their candidates are just plain unlikable or that their policies are wildly out of touch with everyday Americans. No. It's always the voters who are the problem. You must be the sexist or racist one for not voting the way they want. This victimhood mentality isn't just tired, it's toxic. It keeps Democrats from actually reflecting or improving. Why change your strategy when you can just cry injustice every time you lose? Now here's where things get extra juicy. Alyssa Farah Griffin, yes, a host on The View, actually hit Joe Biden with a hard question. She asked him point blank if he takes responsibility for Trump's re-election. Gutsy, right? And to everyone's surprise, Biden sort of admitted fault. He said, yes, I do. I was in charge and he won. Wait, what? Did Joe just have a moment of clarity? But of course, it didn't last long. He immediately pivoted to blame Trump for tanking bipartisan border legislation. Joe went on a mini rant about how his border plan was sabotaged by Republicans because Trump told them not to back it. The irony here is chef's kiss. Let's break it down. Biden's plan gave blanket amnesty, allowed up to 5,000 illegal entries a day, and only shut the border after that cap was hit. In what universe is that a solution? That's like trying to fix a flood by poking holes in the roof. But here's the kicker. Trump walked in, issued executive orders, and boom, illegal crossings plummeted. No fancy bill. No months of deliberation. Just action. So Joe's excuse? Completely debunked. That talking point didn't even make it out of the campaign trail alive. And yeah, Biden should take the blame. Trump left office post-January 6th with record low popularity. The only reason he's surging again is because Biden's administration was such a disaster. The American people basically begged for a do-over. Inflation soared. Gas prices spiked. Border chaos erupted. And instead of listening to the public, Biden's team gaslit the nation, acting like everything was fine. You were the crazy one for complaining. But wait, we're not done yet. Sunny Hostin brought up another awkward moment. Her viral interview with Kamala Harris. She asked Kamala what she would have done differently than Biden, and Kamala, with that awkwardly forced grin, said, nothing comes to mind. You could practically hear the spin machine overheating. That answer was memed into oblivion and used as a weapon against her. And now, The View is trying to do damage control. Sunny asked Biden if he told Kamala to give that robotic, loyalty at all costs answer. Biden denied it, but come on, you really expect us to believe that? The Democrats have been working overtime to make it seem like there's no daylight between Joe and Kamala, even when she's clearly standing in the shadow of his failing presidency. Kamala, Biden, and the wild mental gymnastics of denial. Let's talk about it. So, let's kick it off with something that really made my eyebrows jump. Number one, she said, like I said, I was vice president. I understand the role. Okay, great start. She understands the role. We're off to a solid foundation here. But then, and this is where the verbal gymnastics begin, she follows up with something about not changing the successes they've had. I mean, okay, so basically she's implying we crushed it, wouldn't change a thing. But wait, what successes? Seriously, if Joe Biden was this unstoppable winning machine, absolutely dunking on every problem the country faced, then why, please tell me, why did he drop out of the race? Why was the country practically begging for someone who was the complete opposite of him? If everything was so peachy under Biden, why did the entire party basically hold an intervention? Now here's where Kamala really starts seesawing like she's on a playground during recess. One minute she's proudly shouting, "I'm the vice president. I'm involved in every decision. I'm in the room where it happens. I'm basically Joe Biden's brain." And the next minute, "Oh, I'm just a vice president. I mean, I don't really do much. I just kind of sit in meetings and nod. Joe makes the calls." Come on, Kamala. Pick a lane. When folks started scrutinizing her resume, suddenly she was the most active vice president in history. But when those same folks started pointing out, "Hey, if you're tied to Biden's record, this ain't looking good," she immediately moonwalked into, "Oh no, I barely do anything. Don't blame me." That brings us to the classic dodge. Try and act like when asked, "What would you do differently?" People are only referring to the wins. Let's be real. Nobody's asking that question to relive the highlight reel. They want to know what you'd fix, what went wrong, what you'd do better. So either she's in complete denial that anything ever went south under Biden, or she knows it all flopped, but can't say so without throwing him and herself under the political bus. And now, let's get to the juicy part. Alyssa drops the hammer. There have been books, a lot of books, written by Democrats, insiders, people who were there, saying that in Biden's final year, there was a dramatic cognitive decline. What's your response? Cue Biden confidently. They are wrong. There's nothing to sustain that. Substantiate. The word you were looking for is substantiate. But hey, keep telling us everything's fine. You were totally sharp, totally focused, completely in control. Except we were there. We saw the debates. We saw the brain fog, the stumbles, the slurred speech. But sure, tell us it was all in our heads. Then this is almost poetic. He tries to explain how he was mentally fit and literally has a brain freeze while explaining it. He rambles about the pandemic, the insurrection, the last outfit, huh? And then just gives up mid-sentence like a sitcom grandpa who forgot what he was saying halfway through a story. You can't script this kind of irony. And here's the part where things get absolutely comedic. Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, who apparently thinks PhDs in education make you a medical authority, jumps in to defend her husband like she's describing Superman. She says, and I quote, "Joe would get up, work all day. Then at night while I was in bed reading my book, he was still on the phone, reading his briefings, working with staff." Lady, please. Joe Biden being awake past 6 p.m. is less believable than Bigfoot doing the moonwalk on TikTok. Then she says it was nonstop. What's next? He bench-pressed Air Force One? Performed brain surgery on himself? Solved world hunger during halftime? Let's get real. Joe Biden was either a walking teleprompter whose every move was guided by Obama-era staffers, or, if Jill's telling the truth, he was in full control and still ran the country into the ground. Neither of those options is comforting. But hey, maybe we're the crazy ones. Maybe Joe Biden really was the most active president in U.S. history. Maybe he saved America, and we just didn't notice because we're not woke enough. Maybe if we had $100,000 in student loan debt and a PhD in underwater gender studies, we'd understand how he was the second coming of FDR. But until then, we'll just sit here scratching our heads wondering how this non-stop working, policy-pushing, kitten-rescuing president managed to completely forget where he was in half his speeches. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Smash that like button if you enjoyed this breakdown. Subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to tap that notification bell so you never miss the madness. I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, stay awake, stay free, and stay laughing.